Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Imperial Diecast. And today I'm going to be reviewing another 1/500 scale plane by Herpa. This is actually the smallest plane in my collection, if I'm not mistaken. And what I have here is a 1/500 scale Boeing 737-300. I got this model here together with a 747 and 767, all three without box, for €10. Yes, they're all old generation Herpas with the clunky landing gear, and they don't come with boxes, but 3 for 10? That's still a great deal. Especially since I only wanted the Lufthansa 747 for that price, and ended up getting the 767 and this 737 for free, basically. So the tiniest of the bunch is this 737-300. In 1/500 scale, it is so tiny that it comfortably fits in the palm of your hand and is about as long as your pinky. But the 737 is, with almost 11,000 built, the most widely used aircraft in the world, because of its small size allowing for domestic travel in any country, and also for the fact that so many variants have been made over the years. This is the 737-300, part of the classic 737 family consisting of the 300, 400, and 500, although I'd like to include the 100 and 200 into this family as well. And contrasting this, we have the new generation, or NG family, that consists of the Dash 600, 700, and 800, basically being more high-tech replacements for the previous three, and then the 900, which is a super long version. And then we have the 737 MAX family, consisting of the MAX 7, 8, 9, and 10, as well as a whole bunch of troubles. Now, the 737 here bears the Deutsche BA livery, a domestic German airline you may not have heard of, but it used to be a low-cost airliner in the 90s operating from Munich Airport. It could be compared with Ryanair because its entire fleet only consisted of 737s. And this livery is quite similar to the Landor livery of British Airways from back in the day, except the navy blue has been replaced by a very dark brown. I would almost say black. And this airline rebranded itself in the mid-2000s as DBA and completely changed its livery to a white one and a bright green tail. And a few years later, it ceased operations, becoming part of Air Berlin, which itself is no longer here. So we're going to start by taking a closer look at the side of the fuselage. And you can see that despite the small size, we do get some details here. Notably, the L1 door has something below the hatch, which I think is the door handle. We then have the Deutsche BA titles, as well as the window line, and one emergency overwing exit. Here's the L2 door, and of course, underneath the window line, we have a yellow cheat line, which kind of reminds us of the colors of the German flag. And we're reminded more of that when we take a look at the vertical stabilizer, which looks a lot like the Landor stabilizer of the British Airways planes from back in the day. But you can see that underneath we have the German flag, as well as at the top left corner. The tail's also got that forward slope towards the fuselage Boeing 737s are known for. And here is a closer look at the horizontal stabilizers. Not much detail there. And now let's check out the wings. So the basic wing detail is there. It's got the flaps and the air brakes and ailerons, and the flap track fairings under the wings are also hinted at. And now if we take a closer look at the engines, So, the 737's engines, the CFM56s, have engine cowlings that are supposed to look rather flat at the bottom, and Herpa did model that fairly well. However, the depth is quite disappointing. Herpa actually did make a second 737 casting where they recast the engines to make them look more realistic by adding more depth. And the 737-300 models that have those improved engines are, for example, the Southwest Airlines ones. Still, I'd say this engine has a basic level of detail. I mean, you can see the nose cone of the engine as well as a little bit of the fan blade detail. However, like I said, there is no depth, and it's just all painted silver, and the engine pylons are also ridiculously bad looking. So this definitely looks better in some of the 1/400 scale models of the 737. But again, keep in mind how ridiculously small this plane is. I mean, like I said, this is my pinky right here. So yeah. And here's a closer look at the cockpit windows. They do not have any frames around them, but they're there, and we also get eyebrow windows on top of them. So the basic details are definitely there. And I'd say that's about it for this little plane. And finally, checking out the wheels of the plane, you can see these are the old generation wheels, which look especially bad on extremely small planes. Like on 747s, I don't mind them, but on 737s, they really should have the scaled landing gear. And now, if we take a look at the underside of the plane, you can see that it does say 737 over there. You also get the Herpa branding. And that's about it. And finally, we have a comparison with the previous aircraft that I reviewed on my channel, an Austrian Airlines MD-87. The MD-87, of course, the classic narrow body. And you can see that even though the Boeing 737-300 is a little wider and arguably more comfortable to sit in compared to the McDonnell Douglas MD-87, it isn't as long as the MD-87, and the MD-87 is the shortest fuselage length of all the MD-80 series. So that just goes to show how short and stubby the 737-300 is. And in my opinion, it is still smaller than the MD-87, even though, of course, the MD-87 is very narrow. But you be the judge. Which of these two planes do you think is bigger? Let me know in the comments. So thanks again for checking out this review of an extremely tiny 1/500 scale Boeing 737-300 of the old generation, guys. I hope you liked it, and if you're interested in more plane reviews, you'll find a couple others right here. So thanks for checking out my little airplane reviews here, and I'll see you in the next episode of Imperial Diecast. Take care.